All right, what's up, everybody? So I recently passed the FTMO challenge for a 5th time last month in May, and I also just passed the challenge for a 6th time yesterday. I think by now I can say I definitely have the hang of this forex trading game. This would be around 2 years and 8 months I've been trading now. This year of 2022 has been my best year by a long shot. I've actually passed the challenge every single month this year, minus January and March. I feel like I can get these challenges done pretty much in my sleep at this point. I use a very simple compounding strategy, actually 3 separate compounding strategies, one for 1 1/4 reward, one for 2 reward, and another for 3 reward trades. The market has been a little more choppy than usual lately, so 1 1/4 strategy will always work even when things aren't as steady. But obviously it's better to go for higher risk reward ratios when you can. You get way more profits for your effort that way. Also, a higher risk reward absorbs a lot more losses than the lower versions. So my win back in May was really quick and easy. I got the challenge done in 3 days, which is pretty quick. So we'll take a look at that one. Way quicker than the 10-day minimum that they require. So I had to take a bunch of blank Litecoin trades as usual to reach the minimum. So my first really solid trade was on the Euro USD, and this was on May 9th, right around the open of the London session. And I guess you would call this a mini parabolic top. It happened really quickly. So basically the entry is right in there. So this is what that would look like. Your stop right up there. And take profit right in there. Basically this works because the market really isn't ready to reverse yet. So if you see a big parabolic move upwards in a place where it's really not supposed to be, it usually ends up coming right back down. So it happened there, and then it actually happened again right up here. So either one of those trades would have worked, and you could have gotten at least 2 reward from each one. And then the second really good trade I had was on the Euro GBP, and this was on the next day, May 10th. And this was a couple really good moves in a row. You had a really good consolidation trend continuation there. I entered up here. This was a parabolic top, so you got your two color change bars and entry right there. And I believe I went for 1 1/4 here. 2 would have worked. It just would have took a little bit longer. Either one would have worked. And then you also had a retrace trend continuation here, and a consolidation trend continuation here, and you had another consolidation trend continuation and EMA trend continuation combination move right there. So it's a bunch of really good moves here, all in the span of like 3 hours. So like I always say, there's always good moves happening, so there's really no reason to take moves that don't look all that great. Just wait for a good pattern to form, and you'll have a much higher win rate that way. And then the next big trade was on the USD CAD, and this was on May 10th. And this was a retrace trend continuation. You see you have the big move down here, about 50-60% retrace back upwards before you get a big engulfing bar down, and then we get our second top there. So my entry was right in here. You could be on the safe side and even place a sell stop. I believe I used the market order though. Always safer to use a stop order. It just takes a little bit longer. You usually get a little bit less reward, but it's definitely the safer version, and you'll lose less trades that way. Place your stop right there and take profit. I believe I took profit here, but you could also go for 3. What's that, 21? Even 3 reward would work there. Really solid trade, pretty easy due to the really big bars Really good sign that's going to continue this trend that started up here. And the next big move was on the AUD USD. And this was a little bit before the open. I usually don't recommend taking trades before the open just because you're most likely going to get swung out of your trade. But every once in a while, I'll do it if it's a really good setup like this one. So that was right in here. This was an EMA trend continuation. So you get this big move up. It touches right to the 21 EMA. And then you immediately get a big engulfing bar right after. And let's see. So there's a couple of different ways you can enter. You can enter right at the 21 EMA and just set your stop down here. You do it like that. I usually use 4 pips or 5 and go for at least 2 reward. So that's right there. Obviously you could have gotten 3 and more out of that. So you can enter there, or you can be on the safe side and enter at the engulfing bar here and then place your stop underneath. You see, if you do it that way, you have to use an 8 pip stop instead of a 4 or 5. So you would only go for 1 1/4 or 2 in that situation. But either way it works, it really doesn't matter. And the next move was on the USD CAD. This was on May 11th, the following day. And this was a really good move. This was right after the open. See, the open was right here. If you try to enter before the open on this bar here, because that's a valid EMA trend continuation there. But if you would have entered there, you would have got swung out of your trade at the open, like I always say. So I waited about 20 minutes and then got in here instead, because I figured that was going to happen. You just wait for that first color change. And this one you could have gotten, I don't know, 5 reward all the way down here somewhere. But I believe I just went for 2. And that was right there. You had a bunch of different entries on this move down. So you could have entered as the EMA trend continuation there, or consolidation TC there, or there, or there. Bunch of different safe entry points on that big move down. And the next big move was on the Euro USD. This was on the same day, May 11th. And this was a really good EMA trend continuation here. It had a big move up and it came crashing down to the 21 EMA. So I believe I took my entry right in there somewhere. So we'd enter right here. Like I was saying earlier, I usually use 4 or 5 pips for these moves. You can see if you use 4, it got close, but it wouldn't have stopped you out. And you can easily go for 2 reward. Right about in there. Obviously you can get a lot more from that move too. I like to go for 1 1/4, 2 or 3. If you try to go for more than that, a lot of times you'll end up losing the trade for no reason. So 3 is usually the highest that I'll go as far as the risk reward. And then the next big move was on the GBP AUD on May 11th. And actually took 3 trades on the same move just because I was that confident in the move. Not a good practice. I'm kind of working on that. That's definitely over risking, but it worked out here anyway. So this was right in here. About 40 minutes after the open, this was another EMA trend continuation. See, it goes right up to the 21 EMA and then immediately starts to come down. And that's where you take your entry. And this was another big move down. You could have gotten a lot out of here, but I just went for 2. And the final trade that I took to pass the challenge was on the Euro GBP, also on May 11th. And this was a big combination move. So we got a big parabolic move right at the open, and we didn't get a second color change bar, so I didn't take it as a parabolic. I just waited for the retrace trend continuation, and that was right here. So you get that 50% retrace and then a huge bar down. So there was a bunch of different ways to enter there, but the easiest would have been right there. You could use the 7 pip stop loss. You could even really use less there. And to reward. And that was my final trade. So those were my notable trades for that challenge. As usual, a lot of EMA trend continuations. By far my favorite pattern to trade. A couple of parabolic moves and a couple of retrace trend continuations in there. I take almost all of my trades as some form of trend continuation at this point. It's just a lot safer. I really hate to lose trades, so even though it's unavoidable, I do try to stay as close to a 100% win rate as I can. I usually end up having between a 65% to an 85% win rate anyway, so I'm doing pretty decent. And then on to my most recent challenge win from yesterday. I did a lot of experimenting on this one. It took way longer than any of my other challenges at 12 days. You can see by the chart here, my account was all over the place. I went all the way down to minus 500 at one point. So to get out of that hole, I lowered my risk down to 1% for a couple of compound trades. Once I got back to 0, I raised it back up to 2%, and I was able to get it done from there in just 2 days. And you can see the results there. Yeah, just a lot going on. I was doing a lot of things that I normally wouldn't do. I just wanted to test some things out. And this day here on the 16th, I think is my best day ever in my entire forex trading career. I made around 93% that day, which is really insane. But that's the power of compounding, especially if you go with the 1 1/4 reward version of the formula. You can very quickly get really big gains from trading multiple patterns on the same move. The market was moving a lot these past couple of days, and there were literally trades happening everywhere. So like I said, I was trying out a couple of things on this one. I took 153 trades overall, so I couldn't possibly cover very many of these. I wanted to see how my performance looked if I traded all 8 of the patterns versus just trading trend continuations only. As you can see, it's way better to take your trades while trends are already formed rather than to try going for breakouts and reversals. I kind of knew this already, I just needed to confirm it, and now I know for sure. I had a really diverse final day here as far as pairs go, so I'll show you a couple of those trades. I took a trade on the Euro CHF. This is actually one of the new pairs that I added recently. Really glad that I added it because it's pretty good. Pretty good pair. And this was a combination consolidation trend continuation, EMA trend continuation, and this was about 45 minutes before the open. And that was let's see, right in here. And here's what that looks like. Let's see. Stop right up there and take profit there. This pair moves a lot typically, so obviously you could have gotten a lot more. And we had another move on the GBP AUD on the same day. This was also about half an hour before the open, and this was a really solid EMA trend continuation off of the 8 EMA. Oops, there we go. Do an enter right in there. Usually for these cross pairs I use more like a 8 to 10 pip stop loss for those ones. And to reward is right there. Really quick, easy trade. And the final trade that I took to complete the challenge was on the GBP CHF, and this is Another new pair that I added a couple CHF pairs. I used to not trade the Swiss franc, but like I said, I'm really glad that I did. And this trade I entered right up here at the 8 EMA, right at the top. Another EMA trend continuation. And I believe I used an 8 pip stop loss there. And the take profit was right there. So I know it's kind of hard to see that, but basically I sold right there where that rectangle is. And another quick easy trade. EMA trend continuation is the best. Overall, I'm really happy with my performance on both of these challenges. The biggest takeaway for me here was to focus on trend continuation patterns. I still will trade reversals and breakouts under the right conditions, but it has to be pretty much a perfect setup for me to take those. I feel like I'm 100% ready to do this full time now. I'm not revenge trading nearly as much as I used to. I'm working on getting rid of that bad habit completely. And I'm also not over risking anymore, since I've found the compounding formulas really do cover any reason to have been doing that in the first place. If you want big wins, you just need to get a couple of win streaks and you instantly gain 24x, 26x, or even up to 63x of your risk amount. So there's really no need to ever over risk. And by the way, the Profitable Forex Trading course version 2.0 is available for pre-order. I'm offering a $100 discount for the course as I'm finishing it up, and it will be available on July 6th. So if you want to save some cash, you can order now at www.ccxcollective.com and get started on the course in a couple of weeks. I'm getting pretty close to being done with the course at this point, and it's coming along really well. A huge upgrade over version 1.0 for sure. You can check out my announcement video for that here. I'll put the link up in the top bar. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I'd love to hear your comments and also any special requests you might have for the course material. I'll consider putting in some information I'm not already going to have in there. So that's all for today. Remember to always trade responsibly, and I'll see you guys later.